Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pac-Mountain Pulse, a Mountain West Connection podcast. I'm your host, Derek Reardon. With me once again is Dom Gutierrez. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Just getting through the week, day job kind of stuff, everything from here as well. Plus, the ever looming threat of everything in Northern Nevada right now. So, a little scary stuff going on, but I'll touch on that here in a bit. And sadly, both of us had that. Uh, our own little bouts of scares during this and everything too. So, but I'm happy that we're both happy and healthy. So that's good to hear. Um, kind of just addressing the elephant in the room for anybody who doesn't know what's happening in Northern Nevada, where we are both situated. There has been the Hawk Fire, which has burned, I think it was 15,055 acres, if I remember correctly, as of time of reporting. But I just want to say, and use a little bit of space in this episode to say thank you to every single person, every single first responder, every single police officer, both from Nevada and California, for coming over and helping with these fires. The Hawk Fire was the one that's affected me. That's the one that's close to University of Nevada, Reno, and it was just a whole little bit of a scarcity. You can kind of see my suitcase right above my shoulder or right below my shoulder. I kind of lived out of a suitcase for a couple of days, hoping I didn't have to evacuate, but we're here. And I know Dom had his own bouts with the bug fire and the stallion fires, kind of from like two different sides of the barrel, Jesus, um, and everything of that. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, every first responder, everybody who helped with that fire. It was a lot of emotions for both of us, and similar but different scenarios depending on the time, and it was a little too real to kind of hear it, at least in my opinion. So, yeah, it was just really rough. Dom, do you want to say anything, or just kind of leave it there?
Yeah, I mean, can't say thank you enough to those who did what they can. That was obviously a very long few weeks of all three of those fires going on. And unfortunately, there was obviously a lot that was lost. But um, if it wasn't for the hard work that all the first responders did, it obviously could have gotten a lot worse. They put it out as fast as they could, or I shouldn't say put out, but at least contained it. Um, and yeah, it was like you said, it was very. There's a lot of words we could use to describe the past couple weeks, but ultimately the biggest thing was, we ended up being safe. Luckily, we didn't have to worry about evacuations too much on our end. For everyone who did, I hope that they are all safe and hope that they've been able to return back to their homes safely and everything. And that hopefully now that this hot fire is on the tail end of it, that knock on wood, that this will be the last one for the year, because this has been a crazy span of 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. Dom, yeah, you said you hit a nail on the coffin on that one, my friend. Like, I do feel bad because at my job, outside of reporting, we did have a couple people that did have to evacuate their homes, and some who have a very uncertain future ahead of them when they get back, mainly the ones who lived instead. So it's a very troublesome time. But I'm like you said, I'm extremely happy that we are now at 85% containment at the time of recording. So it's hell, but I'm happy that, like you said, we're gonna put this hopefully behind us. We're gonna rebuild stronger, and we'll go from there. So, but yeah, so thank you again to all the first responders. We appreciate you all, and we hope you all get a bunch of hugs and warm beds or cold beds, depending on what you like, um, when you get back to your homes. So, but yeah, so moving on from that, we do have a docket today. So first off, we talked about Luke Weaver last week for San Jose State. Now we have Nevada. We got to sprinkle Nevada somewhere. Carter Jones has been announced as the quarterback for the Wolfpack. We'll talk about our reactions to that, how everything feels about how we feel about everything, the outlook for Nevada using a second year player who had a lot of experience last year. So we'll see what's up. And then it's week 0, so we get to talk about that. We've been holding off on our Mountain West and Pac-12 predictions, just so we can have some more space, talk about more stuff, as well as make it time appropriate. So we are going to be talking about our Mountain West and Pac-12 standings predictions and their records, as well as some week 0 talk conversations. We did a little bit of that last or a couple weeks ago, talking about which games we have our eyes on for, surprises or upsets or any of that stuff. So we'll talk a little bit more about how we feel about those games for the couple of schools that are going to be in there, and we'll head out from there. So, but yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. So, first things first, Carter Jones, the Nevada Wolfpack incumbent of the quarterback position from last year, the true freshman who started 7 games, is going to be the Wolfpack's starter in week 1 against Western Kentucky on September 5th. It is a little bit of, depending on who you are, a little bit of a shock, just because Nevada did also get UCLA transfer Luke Duncan, who, honest to God, his highlight reel from last year, even though kind of small, still really impressive. But Carter Jones beat him out, as well as AJ Bianco, who Jeff Choate called the Sage of Nevada, which I kind of liked a lot. But so that's just kind of how it is, and I guess I'll throw the question to you, Dom. Do you think the Wolfpack made the right choice?
I will say I was definitely one. How you mentioned a lot of people might be surprised by this decision. I was one of them. And that's not a knock on Carter Jones. That's not a knock on even Jeff Choate. I think it was just you going into year 3 under Choate. You've had back-to-back seasons of not very many wins. You need some sort of a spark. I thought bringing in a guy like Duncan, Power 4 experience, a little older, that was going to be the one that they say, okay, let's mix it up a bit. But I get it in terms of, last year was a carousel among the QB room. Carter Jones came in at the end. 18-year-old true freshman. On a stat sheet, it might have not have looked pretty, but he did what he could. And he showed a lot of flashes of some great plays and, the potential that he could have. And, for any team, obviously, the quarterback who ended the season the previous year, they're always going to have a one-up heading into the next season just because, like you said, they were already the starter once, so they already have that leg up on any new player that comes in. Um, and so I think that, Nevada is obviously in a still working through their rebuilding phase. And when you have a young guy like that and Carter Jones, and who knows how long you will have him for, given how transfer portal and everything else is working. So, um, I'm not completely shocked at them going with Jones. Like I said, I just thought they would have gone with the more experience, and especially it's a pretty new staff, new offensive coordinator, new QB coach. They added a lot change throughout the program, so I thought that Luke Duncan would fit under that change model. But obviously, like Jeff Choate said today, it was obviously a very close competition. It was a very hard decision, and it's easy to make a case for either side. So my only worry is we saw how it kind of went last year, where he named Trevor Purdy the starter, and then a few games in, you saw it went to AJ Bianco, and then it bounced between the two of them, and then eventually led to Carter Jones at the end. Um, and I just remember Choate saying that he didn't want a QB carousel going on at the beginning of last season, and then that's what happened. So I just hope that this time around, if his confidence is in Carter Jones, then I'm not one to knock on that. I just hope that for his sake and for the program's sake, that it works out a little better than it did last year. Because I feel like if you have back-to-back years of you're playing hot potato with the quarterback room, then it's just not a good look. It's not a good look when you do that at all. But for 1 year, you can create a little bit of leeway. But if that's the case 2 years in a row and then it results in the same or similar record, then it's hard to bounce back from that.
100%. And I think that was really the focal point of fall camp, was figuring out, hey, like, is Carter Jones going to be this guy that
Mm-hmm.
can lead the Wolfpack for multiple years, including his freshman year, or will Luke Duncan find step up, get that role, do the whole I was at a Power Four school, didn't get the greatest looks. Now I'm here at a G6 school, and I'm gonna kick some butt. And it's any sort of quarterback competition is going to be a difficult decision, especially when realistically, since Carson Strong in 2021, there hasn't been a good. Excuse me, excluding Brendan Lewis, because Brendan Lewis is a dog and I love that man.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say I gotta shout him out, but for what 3 years of the last four, there's been question marks at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't one time where, unless someone was injured, that or excuse me, not including when someone was injured, we had a stagnant quarterback at the position, you
Yep.
know? And so now it's a matter of, hey, Carter Jones is now going to be this guy. He's going to be the one to step up. He might be the 4 year, now 5 year, um, quarterback that leads the Wolfpack into a new era and everything, which would be sick, by the way, because it almost never happens in college football nowadays. But it's just a matter of who, what, when, where. And I remember talking with a bunch of coaches during fall camp, just throughout the span of everything, and it was the conversation was basically, you know, the quarterback room will be decided. It's a matter of who, what, when, where.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever we decide that guy, that's when we know what our offense is truly going to look like. Is it going to be more dynamic, more flexible, maybe some sort of like an I wouldn't want to say Aaron Rodgers esque, if you know what I'm saying, like prime Aaron Rodgers kind of vibe, where he's
Mm-hmm.
able to scramble and get around. I'm thinking more of that for Luke Duncan, or if it's going to be a more dynamic, think like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or any of these other quarterbacks who can sling that thing but also run. You know what I'm saying? So we just didn't know what it was going to be, and with Carter Jones at the helm now, we can almost definitively say it's going to be a mix. And the run game is going to be such a huge aspect of this, both from quarterbacks and from the running backs. So now it's just a matter of seeing how these all, fit together. Will the puzzle pieces truly fit? And I am, for one, a Carter Jones fan. I think that as a freshman, stepping into the conference schedule that Nevada had last year, that took courage. And obviously, like any athlete should look at the opportunity to play as a golden opportunity to be like, I can step up and finally take this role to the next level, especially so early on. But end of day, like I was always under the impression, like you were kind of alluding to a little bit, that Carter Jones was the one who had to not necessarily just earn it flat out, but keep his spot. It's sort of like when the one example I can think of is when Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones were going at it with the Colts, because Colts are my team. Go Colts. Sorry, I had the shameless plug. Um, but when they brought him in, the whole point of Daniel Jones coming to the Colts was simply so that way Anthony Richardson could actually prove himself, and he didn't. This is the opposite effect. So Luke Duncan was brought in to give Carter Jones some competition, and he won. So that says something to me. That really does. And if everything that I think comes out to be true, Nevada will have actually a decent season. I'm not saying that they're going to go 10-2, play UNLV or Hawaii or whatever in the conference tournament game or conference championship game,
Mm-hmm.
but end of day, this will be a truly good season if this is the hype or if the hype lives up to the actual, scenario, or vice
Yeah.
versa. The scenario lives up to the hype. So,
And I think the biggest thing for Jones was, like I said, he was 18 years old as a true freshman. No matter how um, skilled you are as an athlete, there's nerves going into that. You're tasked with now you have to lead a Division 1 football team at such a young age, and I think a lot of things was just confidence. I mean, Choate mentioned that a lot last year, just getting him more comfortable. And I think now that he has that experience under his belt, that's a big thing that Choate even mentioned today, that his confidence seems to have improved and it's increased. I mean, he put on quite a bit of muscle. He's getting faster. The new coaching staff have been working a lot with him when it comes to mobility. Because I mean, especially when you look at Choate's history as a coach, he usually has always had a mobile quarterback. And I think between Jones, Duncan, and Bianco, Jones is the most athletic out of the three. So I think
Mhm.
it gives Nevada's offense a lot more to work with. Um, but yeah, like I said, and like you said, I agree that um, sometimes you just have to, you got to go with the younger option. You got to go with what's working, and maybe depending on who you ask, if you look at last year, whether you think it worked or not with Carter Jones, but you're not going to know until you try. And obviously, Nevada does need to see improvement in the win column. They need to see improvement in the new Mountain West. But at the same time, if you're going to trial and error some things, like at quarterback, now's the time to do it. So that way you can figure out, hey, if this kid's really going to be our future, then we know we're set up. But otherwise, we're never going to know 2-3 years down the line what the program's going to look like.
Oh, 100%. This is uh the long term.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna see, like you said, exactly the way you said. This is the long term. Okay, do we have this guy? Say this guy stays for 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Will he be our guy, or will he be constantly fighting for the starting spot?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that just, like, realistically, I've seen like so many different predictions, which we're gonna get into ours here in a moment or two. I've seen so many predictions of like Nevada going, you know, 3-9, 4-8, 5-7, and I think that was solely just because we had no clue who was gonna be the captain of that spot,
Mm-hmm.
right? Obviously, Jack Foster and what's it called, Dylan LaBarbera are the captains. I'm not saying that what's his face, Carter Jones is. I'm just saying that your quarterback is always going to be the one that leads the helm almost all the time.
Yep.
So it's like you need to have that guy who can step up like that. And if the confidence does translate from spring camp, from summer to fall camp to like first couple of games of the season, especially against teams like Western Kentucky, who we lost, or who Nevada lost to last year, Middle Tennessee, who Nevada nearly beat but just barely lost to last year at home. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you have to flip those now for home and away, but still, are they gonna somehow some way beat UCLA at the Rose Bowl? Or more recently, take care of Air Force, I believe, at home. So it isn't. You have to really check this guy, and I think that Carter Jones is the guy. He like. I'm not saying that he's as charismatic, or not as charismatic. He's as convincing as Jeff Choate is on the mic. That man could talk. As someone who's been part of multiple press conferences, both after, before, and during the week, um, that man can talk. So shout out to
Never,
Coach
never
Choate for
loses
that.
a press conference.
Never, never. That there's a reason why what's it called? That one clip of him saying, talking about Isaiah World and a couple other people got over 1 million views.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of, can he truly step up and prove that confidence that he's done from here, and that's all it is. So
Yep.
we
Exactly.
look forward to it. Carter Jones, we wish you the best. I don't know if you ever watched this or if anybody athletics watches this, but that would be tight personally. But we wish you the best. I wish every starting quarterback the best. A lot of battles are being decided this week as well. We just wanted to highlight Nevada this week, so fingers crossed, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so moving into our next segment, because I figured out how to play with all the different styles of broadcasting last week by myself. Which, if you haven't checked
Mm-hmm.
that episode out, go check that out. That was fun. We're gonna get into our predictions for the season. That's right. I know how to do this stuff now. It's cool. Um, so we both have our predictions here. We're gonna start with the Mountain West first. Uh, Again, we've been holding off on this for a while. Dom and I always talk about, is it the right week? How about this week? What about this week? And now we're finally doing it, so it's gonna be a little fun. Um, so first things first. If I We're gonna talk about each position. Uh, I believe the way we decided this was we're gonna talk about our rankings individually first, and then compare notes afterwards. Dom, I'll let you take the floor as I type everything, and then we'll go from there. So we'll start with 10 and we'll make our way up to 1. So give me your 10 first, my friend.
Okay. For 10, I'm going to go with
Mm.
UTEP. I have them going 3-9 overall, and then they'll finish at, I guess if we're going to throw conference records in there too, I had them going 1-7. But overall, I think for UTEP, and we've talked about it a little bit, but between them and Northern Illinois, there's not a ton working with them. Um, in the positive rankings, I guess, and then joining a new conference that has a couple teams at the top that are going to be performing very well. That's just where I'm putting them. And then since I was just mentioning Northern Illinois, that's who's going to be my number 9. Um, I have them finishing just one game above UTEP at 4-8, and then they'll be at 2-6 overall. For number 8, I have the Spartans at San Jose State. I have them finishing 5-7, with a 3-5 conference record. And then I have at number 6, I have Wyoming finishing 6-6, with an even 4-4 record in Mountain West.
You mean 7th, not 6th?
Excuse me, yes.
I just want to double check it. I was just like, wait. All right, cool. Sorry, just want to double check. I apologize for interrupting. Go ahead.
Thank you. And then who is next? I have Nevada at 6. I have them finishing 7-5. And then with that, I also have them as a 5-4, or 5-3, excuse me, 5-3 conference record. I think, granted, this one was a little premature before the Carter Jones announcement, but looking at how Nevada's schedule is, and the amount of talent they were able to bring back, call it hopium all you want, but I truly think that Nevada can take a big step. I think this is going to be a high ceiling for them, but I think that it's doable for this squad. So going up to number 5, I'm going to have, who do I have? Excuse me. I'm going to have Air Force. Same thing, 7-5, same record. I think they're going to take a big step forward than they already kind of did last year, but it's hard to stop that triple option anyway. But so I have them finishing within the top 5. I'm going to have North Dakota State at 4, finishing with an 8-4 record, and 6-2 in conference. Number 3, it's going to be a tie, but that's going to be Hawaii. So same record both ways, but I see them where it works out with the tiebreaker, them finishing up 1.
Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, I thought you meant like the same as number 2. My fault.
No,
I
you're good,
apologize.
yeah. No, yeah. So I have them at that. New Mexico, I have them at 9-3, and they will finish 7-1 in the conference. And then last but not least, that leaves UNLV to win overall. I'm gonna give them an 11-1 overall record, and then also 7-1 in conference.
Gotcha. I'm curious to learn. Actually, I'll before I go on, I need a little bit of an explainer. I just have 2 questions about it. You can give me questions afterwards too. This is kind of fun. I like this. So one, why New Mexico so high despite the fact of the quarterback question still?
So, which I agree with that. I just think that whichever route it ends up going, I think they're just one of those who, like we've talked about it a little bit, how much Jason Eck has turned that program around just in a short span. And I truly believe that they really have nowhere else to go except up. And then I feel like when you look at the schedule, they have the one big game against Oklahoma. It is week 4, I believe, for them. Otherwise, I feel like they have some pretty favorable matchups, especially once they get to conference play. I mean, they start with Central Michigan next week, which I feel like they'll pull out that one. And then
Hmm.
in terms of conference play, I think their hardest ones are going to be um, UNLV and Hawaii. They do play North Dakota State, but that's a home game for New Mexico. Um, and then same thing when they play Air Force, it's a home game. So they're on the road in Hawaii, and then they host UNLV, but that's obviously going to be a tough one. But I feel like a lot of these matchups are just a lot more favorable towards New Mexico, especially in conference play.
Fair enough. I understand that. I was gonna say it's always gonna be a little rough when you have a new quarterback, and I will talk about my quarterback stuff here, or my predictions here in a sec about that too,
Mm-hmm.
because I have a whole bit about that too. But yeah, so I understand it though. And then the second one is UNLV. I need to know who their one loss is in
Oh,
conference play.
yes. So
Tell me Nevada. I swear to God, I'm gonna boot you from this damn thing. No.
oh, excuse me. Okay, let me. Sorry, I was looking at. I had that copy twice. So I have UNLV winning out through conference play. It's their
Okay, so
one
they're 8 and
loss.
0.
Yes, their
Oh,
one loss I think is going to be this weekend against Memphis.
oh, okay, fair enough. A little, I think if I remember correctly, Memphis is one of the top programs in their conference as well. So, or
Mm-hmm.
at least
Yeah,
projected to be. So that does
yeah.
make a bit more sense.
Two of
Like
the top
top. You know,
G6. Yeah, so I think uh, that's gonna be a close one, but I think Memphis squeaks out that one. But yeah, the rest conference schedule wise, I do have UNLV finishing out wins.
fair enough. Sounds good. Cool. That's it. All right. So for my rankings, first off, Dom and I started the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
I have UTEP finishing 10, though I think 2 and 10.
Okay.
And 1 and 7 in conference play. I think that when it comes to UTEP, there just needs to be uh like with how they've done in the last couple of years, it just hasn't been too convincing. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that, when you play teams like, Oregon State, who, yes, they're predicted to be part of the lower end of the Pac-12, still a better program overall. You got Michigan to deal with. Same with Oklahoma. They better be getting paid really damn well for those two games. Because if not, damn. And there's still some like movement that they could do in what's it called in conference play. Like, they have Northern Illinois that they could possibly contend with if they can keep up with Air Force. That could be something they could do.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid they can upset Nevada on at home as well on October 10th. Any of those games. Same with San Jose State though next week on October 17th. We don't know what's going to happen exactly. So they can squeak out at least one game, but I do think that, starting with Oklahoma and then following up with Michigan 2 weeks later, that's just going to set them up for too much failure.
Yeah.
Um, then I have NIU. These guys are going to be 3-9, and I have the exact same conference record as well. Um, so hot take about this. I think I do also have San Jose State, but I think they're going 4-8.
Okay.
With the what's it called? Let me pull up this schedule because I forget if I said 3-5 or if I said 2-6. For this, give me 1 second because I remember I have it pulled up too. Um, so 4-8. I think they win at minimum. Uh, what's it called? Where is it? Like obviously starting against USC is just not great. But you can take on Eastern Michigan and Cal Poly pretty easily, but then Fresno State's going to be pretty rough if they're as good as people say they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you have a schedule featuring Hawaii, New Mexico, Air Force, UNLV, and ND State. So I think the pessimist inside me is ringing otherwise. So that's why 2-6 seems right, and we're going to stick with that. So we'll have to see what's up. Um, what I believe, and this is going to be a tie. I think it's Nevada 7 with a 6-6 record
Okay.
and a 4-4, and they directly tie with Wyoming this year, who has the exact same record. Um, you can tell who's a little bit more optimist and who's more pessimist in these rankings now that I'm starting to see this, which is, oh boy, if I'm going to be labeled a pessimist, that's going to be crazy. But what's it called? I just think that both of these schools just they have a lot to prove, and these are gonna be the cut programs for bowl games, just like how you have them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just they're either gonna have their bowl game contention solidified the second to last week of the season or the third to last week of the season, or they're not making a bowl game. And so I'm being like that's the more optimistic side for me. Um, Next, I do also have Air Force at 7-5. I think that they're gonna take that leap as well. I 100% agree. I'm gonna say 5-3 as well. Next, I have this is gonna be the big one, New Mexico. And they're gonna have the exact same record that you have NDSU and Hawaii at.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'll talk about that here in a bit. I think realistically, then you have NDSU, who will be 9-3, and I'm gonna say six. I'll say 7-1 in conference play. I'll do that. That's cool with that. And then we have Hawaii and UNLV. And based on all the stuff that I want to go, I'm gonna be the hater. I'm gonna put Hawaii number one. I think they're going. I think they're gonna. So here's the thing. I think that each of the top three schools are gonna finish the exact same in conference play, 7-1. But I think that Hawaii and UNLV are gonna beat NDSU for that final spot.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's there. And this is like, ooh, wow, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to type. I think, and if we're gonna go like conference champion, realistically, it's like UNLV is obviously gonna be the favorite for me. But if you were to like tell me like, hey, Hawaii or New Mexico wins at the end of the season, I'm not surprised either. So that would be kind of that. But like, I think we're gonna have like my conference championship is Hawaii UNLV. I just think with everything gunning for Hawaii in terms of national favorites, or not national favorites, but national regard, and everything of that matter, that Hawaii will just, they will be the one to take that next step up and, be basically like the New Mexico of last season, like how they were and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But they will be the ones to actually turn that around and actually make the conference championship by beating like NDSU or UNLV, just simply because the fact that they I believe it's Hawaii and no, don't click anything. I think it's Hawaii and UNLV are two of the top Mountain West schools in both coach and national AP votes, if I remember correctly. If not, New Mexico's up there too. And so I just think that at the end of the year, Hawaii's going to have a higher ranking, and if we're really going to try and do the same like ranking BS that we had to go through last year, then Hawaii will be the one to take that spot. So,
yeah, and I respect that. And honestly, I like if I'm just a normal Mountain West fan, I would want to see Hawaii finish out the top.
oh yeah,
I think they have a lot of talent to do so. I think and as much as it pains me to put UNLV so high, I just think that like I said, when you look at the schedule and you look at the talent they've put around, especially the talent that was already there, and then just adding to it, and then plus the fact that they don't have to worry about Boise State anymore. So I feel like it's kind of their, for now, it's their conference to lose, and then if a team like Hawaii or even NDSU or New Mexico can make the push, then they do that, But otherwise, I feel like it's theirs to lose so far.
no, 100% agreed. Like the ball is in UNLV's court, and if they don't win, I think this puts an insane amount of pressure on Dan Mullen, on what's it called? Every like former like high 3-star, 4-star, the 5-star quarterback too. I'm currently biffing on his name right now. I feel bad. But it puts an insane amount of pressure on them if they don't. because there's so much going for them this year in turn. Like I said, like national ranking, they're one of, if not the top Mountain West school in national regard coming into the season. So it's not even a sake of, hey, like, will they pull this out? It's almost as if they need to pull out the win this year,
Yeah.
like you kind of alluded to. And so we'll just see what happens. I mean, you know, I believe UNLV went back to back appearances in the conference championship and then lost. So it's like, you can only, if you don't go up this season, when's it gonna be?
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what's up with that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so that's our Mountain West rankings. Thankfully on the same document, I just made another table, so take a little screenshot, pose for the camera. But no. So with that being said, we also have our Pac-12 rankings, which I did not put the numbers on. I apologize. Let me fix that now. I promise I am a professional journalist when I can be. It's really embarrassing. If we had a sponsor, I'd throw the sponsor up right now. No, alrighty. Cool. So, with everything being said, we have the 8 teams in the Pac-12. Dom, you want to take the first lead again on this one?
Yes.
Cool.
So, for starting at the bottom, I'm going to have Washington State.
Whoa. I'm going to put Wazoo.
I'm going to have them finishing 4-8 and going 2-5 overall, because they play 7
2 and 5 or 2 and 6?
I believe they only play 7.
Remember, the last week is a flex week.
7. That is right, huh? So it doesn't go towards.
Well, no, it goes towards. If I remember correctly, it does go towards the records and everything. It's just they're gonna kind of like judge it based on like positions, kind of in a way.
Right. Okay.
So we going 2 and 6 or 3 and 5?
We'll go 3 and 5 then. In that case.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Washington State, or excuse me, Colorado State. Too many states in this school. Or in this.
Well, it's just Pac State. Like, no disrespect, but let's be real here.
So I have them going, same exact thing.
Ooh, a tie for last place.
So I have them finishing at the bottom.
Fair enough.
And then I have Utah State going 5 and 7. Which then that would be a, what would that be? A 3, or excuse me, sorry. I said I had this set up only because I honestly totally forgot about the flex.
I understand.
Because originally I had them at 3 and 4, so then I guess
you go 4 and 4.
Yeah, we'll go with 4 and 4 then.
Yeah, feel free to shout out whatever. I was gonna say the flex week. I just remembered the flex week as well because I was also looking at the schedules and everything, and I'm like, oh, that's different. Yeah. So don't worry about it, bro.
Oregon State, same. There's a lot of repeats here, but Oregon State, same thing, 5 and 7. Same thing.
Gotcha.
Fresno State at 4. I have them going 7 and 5.
Ooh, they're the first one to make the jump. Okay.
Yep. And then with them, I have them going 5 and 4.
5 and 3.
5 and 3. Yes, excuse me.
You good?
Can't do math.
We were journalism majors for a reason, brother.
Number 3, I have them at. I have San Diego State, also 7 and 5.
I'm seeing patterns, but it's okay.
Yes. I said this one was a lot more repetitive.
Yes.
Number 2, that's where I'm going to put Texas State.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm going to have them going 9 and 3.
So the question is, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. And then that will be a 6 and 2.
I think I jumped the gun because I thought because I knew you probably could say 6 and 2, so I'm like, okay. So will Boise? What is it?
I'm going 10-2 overall.
All right.
And then with so that would be a 7-1 then. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Alrighty. So what's with the Brad Jackson slander? Um, what's with my boy's slander, bro? I gotta know. No.
So, um, I mean, it's nothing against Texas State. Um, it's it's just Boise State. I mean, I can't, I think that they're, um, I mean, they Pac-12 is similar to the Mountain West. I feel like in terms of, um, that Boise State's seen a lot of this competition already. They've proven that they can beat it, and I think it's similar to UNLV in the Mountain West. It's just their conference to take. But I do, yeah. Whereas Texas State, I like I said, that's why I put them two. I do see them doing very well. I think Boise State's just gonna have that edge.
No, I understand completely. It's just with like Brad Jackson's an amazing quarterback. We've talked about him several times on this podcast. So that's why I'm like, I understand completely about that. It's just one of those moments I'm like, oh, okay, Madden Max it, or you got the quarterback like Maddox,
Yeah,
excuse me.
Maddox, yeah.
Thank you. Maddox is coming in, taking over that stuff too, seeing that stuff. All right, we'll see how that works. So, alrighty, cool. That's really the only question I had. So we good there. So for my rankings, first things first, I do have Oregon State actually as the first lowest one.
Okay.
I think they're gonna see. Here's the thing. I'm a lot more optimist on Pac-12 just because I think they're a lot more bunched than your average conference right now. So I think they're what's it called, 4-8 as well. But they have the capabilities of going 5-7 if they prove themselves, right? So 4-8, they'll go. I'll say 3-5 as well. I think the next one's Colorado State. Oh, yeah, I'm putting the wrong one. Oopsie. Um, Colorado State. I think they are actually one higher than them because I think with so much going down in the conference, or excuse me, going down like so much team change and everything, they are the most volatile. Like 1,000%, they are the most volatile. And so outside of like maybe Utah, what's it called? Maybe outside of like Utah State, right? So it's a matter of can these programs really turn that needle around and really take a good step forward, which I think they will, or will they? And they have the like I have Utah State being the exact same as well, but both of these programs can have the potential of being bowl contenders as well,
Okay.
right? Starting the bowl games is none other than Wazoo, who should be 6-6 overall. They are the beginning of everything. I think they're going to have the same conference record. I think they probably lose their flex week, if anything, just because of how like the questionability of everything right there. I know like when you play a sim in college football, because there's only 7 conference games, they make you play Oregon State twice, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
stupid. Not my favorite thing in the world. I'm doing a little Wazoo rebuild because I thought it'd be fun, and so it's just like I don't know. It's just weird to me. So I think that like I said, I think they'll have the same conference record. It's just they'll have the overall record for that. Just depends like who they beat and everything. Next, be a little bit of a hater. I got SDSU at 7-5. I don't think that the defense truly holds the same. Oops, excuse me. I don't think the defense truly holds the same caliber as it did last year. I
Mm-hmm.
think, and because of that, they're going to have a drop off. I still think bowl game is possible, and like if I were a betting man, I'd probably say it's like a 60 to 65% chance of happening. But we just need to kind of see how that defense truly glues. And if they shut me up and go like 9-3, I'm happy, with how they done. So I'm not upset by that at all. I think Fresno with how elite their defense was and how good they've got, like just the stuff they've retained and stuff they've grown. I can imagine they will be a little bit better. So they're going to be 8-4 with a 6-2. Next, if you couldn't tell by my reaction, I have Boise State at 9-3. I think Maddox can do really well in the new Pac-12, especially being one of the top quarterbacks in there. But it's just a matter of, we saw the struggles from last year without Genty. We saw all the stuff and everything. I mean, like, no disrespect to Boise and no disrespect to Nevada on that stuff, but Boise put up 24 points against the Wolfpack when they held them to 3, right? So the defense was great, but the offense has always had that level of, can they do well enough? And so I think it's just the question marks are a little bit too prominent, and that they're going to have a hard time there. And then lastly, I'm Texas. I'm going Texas State. I'm getting Brad Jackson. I think, yeah, I think that again, I agree that Texas State and Boise State will be the two representatives in the Pac-12 championship this year, but I think Texas State's going to be the one that kind of flips in, is going to be the front runner for everything this year. So that's just kind of my list. Any questions? I saw your face to a couple of them. That's why I'm asking this. I'm just like, let me know. Let me know.
So, and I guess I'll just give my reasoning for, because obviously I put Wazoo pretty low, and I feel like a lot of people have them higher. I only did that was just because they're starting off the season in non-con pretty tough. And then I feel like once they get to conference play, just because they have a lot of new things in the program, compared to a lot of these other schools that are coming in. So schools like Fresno State, I see beating them, Boise State beating them, San Diego State beating them, Texas State beating them. So not to say, I'm not trying to say that they're a bad school. I just think that they're, and it's hard to judge because last year, obviously, they weren't really in a conference per se. It was a lot different.
Right.
So I think playing in an actual conference with all these other teams, I think, is what's going to make the difference. So that's the only reason why I put them lower. Because, like I said, all those schools, the Fresno States, the San Diego States, the Texas States, the Boise States, I have them too high to where one school had to be low. I debated Oregon State being that one at the bottom too, but I felt like they were a team almost kind of similar to like someone like Nevada, where they were, they're kind of due for a little bit of an improvement overall in the conference standing. So it was just one of those where someone had to finish last.
No, I understand completely. And that's why, like, that's kind of my reasoning for Oregon State, is just like, with so many like volatile teams, like I said, like with SDSU, with Utah State, Colorado State, like Wazoo even too, like I'm high on them just because, they were able to contend with James Madison late into the season last year. They were the ones who beat Utah State in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl too. It's like they had prominent wins on their schedule, or at least can contest on their schedule. I mean, hell, they even went into Ole Miss and only lost by 3 last year. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, that's last year. We can't really predict how things were going to be this year in terms of like comparing school to school without taking a really, really deep dive into things that the only people that really could are like the coaches. But at the end of the year, it's like the bottom, like I say bottom as in like just like whatever, but like the 5 final spots are, and even if you want to include Fresno State in that, depending on where you put them in your list or whatever, these are going to be the biggest question marks realistically. Like we can just guesstimate really on this one, and it's just a matter of where you really want to put them, where you really want them to go, all that kind of stuff. And so, this should be a really fun season for Pac-12 football. Once again, obviously not the same, Oregon, USC, UCLA, Washington running the damn show almost, but at the same time, this will be a fun like mid-major. Yes, I called the Pac-12 mid-major. Fight me. But please don't fight me. Actually, but no. Like the Pac-12 will be a really really fun mid-major conference this year. I have no doubt in that. And
And I
so it's just
do.
like
Okay,
again, who we
so
go from there.
sorry. I want to, because it was driving me insane this whole time we were discussing this about the whole flex thing,
Yes.
right? Because I totally forgot this was even a thing. But I think we were right the first time. Because looking at the Pac-12 when they first announced this, because they're playing 4 non-conference games, 7 and then 7 games that go towards conference record, and that 8th game is the flex game, which doesn't technically count, and that rounds out the full 12 schedule.
Gotcha. So technically speaking, it's like 5 non-conference games because the other one doesn't count towards. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, they just
Okay.
because they did that because they didn't want to play 5 non-conference games, but because they only had 8 teams, that's the way they had to make it work.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So subtract a couple here and there.
Yeah.
Like
so, because like I said, if you want to bounce off mine, because that's what I had it set at originally. So like for Wazoo, 2-5, Colorado State 2-5, Utah State 3-4, Oregon State 3-4, Fresno State. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Fresno State, I had them at 5-2.
Okay.
San Diego State, or no, I had them at 4-3, and I had San Diego State also at 4-3. And then Texas State was 5-2.
5-2, and I'm assuming Boise was
6-1.
Yep. Gotcha. Honestly, yeah. I'm just gonna, I'll mirror you on that one.
Yeah.
Just because, like you said, it's sort of that's kind of like how it was, and I was like, oh wait, there is a flex game. Oh crap.
Yeah.
Ruh-roh, that's not good.
We were thinking, they were still had that extra one because when you think of rounding out the schedule, that's what you're used to, but they're doing it different because of their numbers.
That makes sense. I misread that entirely. I apologize, everybody. So everybody's gonna be very confused for the first 15 minutes of this conversation. So anyway, but yeah, so that's our final Pac-12 standings right here. Should be there. We are running a little bit long on this one, so I guess I'll just kind of pull up the week 0 matchups real quick on the same document. Just to kind of get into things. I'm just gonna write them down. Let me actually do a page break real quick if my page wants to be nice. A little bit of impromptu stuff here. I got you right there. Alrighty.
And we're not doing for week 0. Just as a PSA, we're just focusing on the schools in our conference per se.
Yes. So, and we'll kind of take it one by one and kind of go from there. And just, go from there. So we have San Jose State traveling to USC to take on the Trojans. They are number 14 in the country. Realistically, I think we both can agree USC is probably going to walk out with this, but I guess the question is for this one, how well does San Jose State compete with the Trojans?
Not well. I will say that.
Yeah. Okay. How about this? In terms of a mid-major.
It's just going to be, you just need to start off something positive, right? When you have these kind of games, that's all you need. You just need to find a positive out of whatever it may be, even if it's just, hey, you put up 2 touchdowns. Okay, those 2 touchdowns, your tight end look really good, or your offensive line in the red zone blocking look really good. You just need to find some kind of positive to take out. And then obviously it's it's just a cool moment for those players at San Jose State for, maybe they've never gone to the Coliseum and played. So it's just one of those places where it's fun to play at.
No, exactly. Should be a fun game. I think that realistically, if I'll write out their full name. If the Spartans are able to keep it within like I would say 3 scores, that should be a win for the Spartans. Like that should be like, hey, yeah, like we walked into the Coliseum and got spanked, but at least we kept it within good margin of a top 25 conference opponent or state opponent versus mid-major who's not necessarily rebuilding but just trying to find themselves again. So should be a fun time. Good luck to the Spartans. That will be one of the first games of the week or the weekend, excuse me, for the Mountain West. The next one will be North Dakota State. They will be hosting Jacksonville State. Realistically, I do believe like the reason why North Dakota State became a member of the Mountain West was simply because they they were so dominant in the FCS. And I think that with Jack State being one of the, like I say newer in quotation marks, not like the new ones, but a newer member to the FBS over the last like 5 years or whatever, it has been like this is actually a winnable matchup and can set the pace for the Bison to truly take that step and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we shot for the Mountain West, and guess what? We own that now, or at least we own that. The jump to the Mountain West so early, and I think that's kind of like where it is, and I think I do see them winning it.
Yeah, I agree, especially with it being a home game. It's one of the most unique environments in college football. So, Jack State was a good program last season, but just the fact that they have to travel there, and like you said, there was a reason why they made the jump to the Mountain West. So I think they're going to win too.
Yep. And then next we got Hawaii at Stanford. Oh my god, I can't believe. Please don't roast me. I apologize. I thought I typed it correctly. But Dom, your takes on this one?
Similar to last season, when Hawaii pulled off a stunner against Stanford. I think it's going to be the same scenario with Hawaii pulling it out.
Oh, 100%. I think there's so much room to like continue this, this like Pacific rivalry between if there ever is going to be one. And I think that if it is a very, very close game, we will see what's it called? We will see Hawaii, etch out the win really quickly. I do think that there is because, Hawaii was home last time, they had the upper edge and they were able to get the win. But at the end of the day, like, if it is a flip side and Hawaii is like, hey, I'm gonna come in, see what's up, and then Stanford's like, hey, I'm still home, dude. I can still take you out. I don't need to worry about this. Don't worry, like we can come back. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. So this is the most coin tossy one outside of the last one we're gonna talk about in a second, but it should be a fun game.
Yeah.
So, and then last but not least, we have the Memphis Tigers. I want to say. Let me double check I swear to God, I promise that I looked this up, and I'm currently the Tigers. Thank you. The Memphis Tigers taking on the UNLV Rebels at UNLV. Should be one of the last, if not, it's the last game of week 0. And honest to God, if you flip a coin and told me that you picked it, I wouldn't be a bit surprised. That's how close this game is probably going to be in my head. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I just said when we were doing our conference predictions that this is who I have UNLV's solo loss to is Memphis. I mean, both teams are running out with a new quarterback. Memphis, has a little bit of a newer defense, but I think that's what this game is literally going to come down to is who has the better defense and who can get a stop, because there's going to be a lot of scoring from both sides. So who's going to be the one to get that first stop defensively and then allow their offense to pull ahead. So I feel like it's going to be anywhere between 3 and 7 point difference between who wins it. And then I also think that it's pretty rare to say a week 0 game has so much importance, but when you're two group of 6 schools who are favorites to take a CFP spot. This is kind of, I don't want to say an elimination game, but whoever loses this one is going to have a really hard time making a case against the other when it comes to time for the committee to make a decision.
Oh, 1,000%. This is it's legitimately how that final spot will be taken. Like
Yeah.
you said exactly. I kind of see it as like if I remember correctly, it was the Raiders who beat the Patriots like week 1 or week 2 or something and
Mm-hmm.
cost them like the top spot and the Broncos got it or whatever.
Yep.
Didn't matter in the long run. But
Yep.
like, you know what I'm saying? So this could genuinely be that sort of scenario. Obviously, like, I'm not calling one the Patriots, one the Raiders. No. But like at the same token, this will be that kind of importance of a game. And I'm looking forward to it. It should be a
Right.
fun time.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
all right. All right. All right. So that was a very, very long and fun conversation. I appreciate that. That's the longest we've gone. Ooh, that's the wrong one.
That's a little bit.
That's the longest that we've gone in a while. So I definitely appreciated that conversation. But so we're gonna wrap this up really quickly. Thank you all so very much for watching / listening to this episode of the Pac-Mountain Pulse. If you want to check out all of our previous episodes and all of our content on our website, go check it out on the website at or www.mountainwestconference or mwcconnection.com and check out our Twitter, MWC Connection. All of our stuff's posted on there. We've been doing better at posting this guy a little bit more. I've been trying myself. So check us all out there. Check us all of our previous episodes as well. It's finally time. It's finally football season. And I know we look forward to covering Nevada throughout the entire season as well as seeing how everybody does throughout the conferences. So, well, I hope you all have a good night, a good day, whenever you're listening to this, a good week, a good weekend. Let's go enjoy some college football, my friends. So, thank you all.
Yes,
Take care.
sir. Thank you.